Hello, Mr. Nesbe. Welcome. It's very nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. As far as I know, you wanted to come to Belgrade in 1999 during NATO bombing Yugoslavia, but something happened.
Well, I was writing a book, sort of a documentary, sort of journalistic book, just because it was, the first time that was in bombing in Europe since World War II. So it was an extreme situation. So as a writer, I wanted to go to the country where I went when I was 18 years old on vacation in a country and the people that I really loved and had a great time here. I was here for a couple of weeks and I just had great memories. So I wanted to go back and just talk to people. And so I wanted to go to all the former Yugoslavian countries. But the only country that I couldn't get access to at the time was Serbia and Belgrade. So I tried to get in, but unfortunately, it was an extreme situation, so I can understand that it was difficult to give visa to some writer from Norway. So I traveled around and I interviewed people in Sarajevo and in Zagreb and in the refugee camps in Macedonia and also in Budapest, where we met some Serbian soldiers, young soldiers who had fled the country. So it was a very educating and interesting journey and a book to write for me. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to where it all was happening in those days here in Belgrade.
Speaking of your latest work, Magbet, at first you wanted to change a little bit original story. You had a problem with Shakespeare's Three Witches. Am I right?
Yeah, well, there is this, for those of you who don't know Macbeth, the play Macbeth, there's a supernatural elements with three witches who are making this witch brew that they are cooking together, and they are giving prophecies to Macbeth that he will be king. And so my Macbeth is set in the 70s, and the power fight is not for the position of king, but the position of chief of police in this crime-ridden, corrupted city where the only people making money are the drug lords. And so I made the three witches into cooks who are cooking not witch's brew but a drug called power, and they are not giving prophecies to Macbeth, the young police officer, but they are striking a deal with him, making him a promise that if he will kill the chief of police, Duncan, who is going after the drug lords, then Macbeth himself will be chief of police.
We know that you are a musician too, so considering that, Bruce Springsteen is very important to you. Why?
Well, he was. I grew up with Bruce Springsteen. I can remember I was in the army. I was going to the north, and I had bought a rundown car with the little money I had just to take me to the north tip of Norway, and that's a trip of 2,000 kilometers. So it was a lot of driving, and I bought The River, the double album by Bruce Springsteen, and that became sort of for me the soundtrack to my stay in the north of Norway, close to the North Pole almost, with long pitch dark winters. And but it was especially when I drove up there and when I drove back, Bruce Springsteen is the perfect soundtrack when you're driving, of course. And so it was, he became my man. At that time, he wasn't really that big in Norway or elsewhere in the world. He was becoming big, but of course it wasn't until born in the USA that he became really big.
Yes.
Yeah, he was simply my guy. He reinvented rock and roll for me.
Oh, yeah. What's your favorite song? Springsteen's song?
You know, it's strange. My favorite song is probably, it's a couple of songs. It's Wreck on the Highway, which is nobody else's favorite song.
Yeah.
And it's Downbound Train is also a really strong track. And I'm, unlike most Springsteen fans who, you know, it's as if it's politically correct to name Born to Run as your favorite album. And for me, it's number 4 on the list. Yeah.
Interesting.
Darkness on the Edge of Town and The River are my favorite albums.
Do you, Mr. Nesbe, read your book reviews?
I don't. You know, they tell me at the publishing house or my agent tell me, you know, that it's the receptions, you know, the reviews are good, and so I'm happy with that. I don't need to read them in detail.
You're a famous person, a famous writer. Do you sometimes Google yourself? Maybe.
Never.
Never.
Sometimes I have to if there's something I need to know or there's something that somebody tells me that you should have a look at this, but. Normally, no, I don't. I mean, I did when we started with our band. I would, if we had done an interview, I would, of course, go out and buy the paper and look, you know, through all the pages. And hopefully we were there with a few lines. But no, at some point I stopped. It became like a distraction. And I mean, it's when you're traveling, you're talking about yourself all the time. It's you get very focused on your own person, so it's you know, if you should start reading all the papers and googling yourself, then it's you have, you know, spending all your day, you know, just focusing on yourself, and well, I think it's healthy just to, you know, focus on other stuff when you have to focus on your work, but apart from that, no.
And for the end, your next climbing destination is?
It's actually Croatia and then Slovenia. Climbing in Slovenia is supposed to be great, but I also climbed here in Belgrade today. We found a very interesting place where we climbed here within the city.
Pictures,
it was really, really interesting.
Super. Thank you so much.
Thank you.